They say high school is the best time of your life. They say childhood wounds heal with time. They say bullies grow up and become better people. But sometimes, those sayings are lies told by people who were never pushed to the breaking point. Sometimes the wounds never heal. They just wait, festering in the darkness, until the perfect moment arrives for justice. Tonight's tale comes from the depths of Reddit, where a 10-year reunion became the stage for the most calculated, devastating revenge ever orchestrated against a childhood tormentor. This is the story of Daniel Park and Trevor Hutchinson, and how one conversation at a high school reunion destroyed a life that took 20 years to build. This isn't just about schoolyard bullying. This is about what happens when a victim becomes successful, when a bully shows no remorse, and when patience transforms suffering into the perfect weapon of destruction. Daniel Park had been an easy target. Small for his age, quiet, obsessed with computers and books instead of sports. His parents had immigrated from South Korea when he was 5, and his slight accent made him stand out in the overwhelmingly white suburb of Millbrook. Connecticut, Trevor Hutchinson was everything Daniel wasn't. Tall, athletic, popular, and from one of the wealthiest families in town. Trevor's father owned the largest real estate development company in the county. Trevor drove a BMW to school. Trevor dated the homecoming queen. Trevor was destined for greatness. And Trevor made Daniel's life a living hell for 6 years. It started in 7th grade with simple name-calling. Ching Chong, dog eater, go back to China, the usual racist garbage that bullies with no creativity resort to. Daniel tried to ignore it. His parents told him to focus on his studies, that words couldn't hurt him, but words were just the beginning. By 8th grade, Trevor had escalated to physical harassment, shoving Daniel into lockers, knocking books out of his hands, tripping him in the cafeteria. The teachers saw it happen but did nothing. Trevor's father was on the school board and a major donor. Complaints went nowhere. Freshman year brought psychological warfare. Trevor created a fake social media account pretending to be Daniel, posting racist stereotypes and embarrassing confessions. Daniel was suspended for 3 days before the investigation revealed the account wasn't his. Trevor claimed his account had been hacked and faced no consequences. Sophomore year was the worst. Trevor started a rumor that Daniel was a school shooter in waiting. He photoshopped Daniel's face onto violent images and spread them around school. Daniel was interrogated by police, his locker searched, his backpack inspected daily. The administration apologized but did nothing to Trevor. His father made a generous donation to the school's new gymnasium. Junior year, Daniel stopped coming to school regularly. The harassment had destroyed his mental health. He developed severe anxiety and depression. His grades, once perfect, began to slip. His parents considered moving, but they couldn't afford to leave the area where they'd built their business. Senior year, Daniel became invisible. He switched to online classes for half his schedule. He avoided Trevor completely. He survived barely until graduation. Then he left Millbrook and never looked back until the 10-year reunion invitation arrived. Daniel had spent the decade after high school transforming himself. He'd graduated from MIT with a degree in computer science. He'd started a cybersecurity firm that had grown into a multi-million-dollar operation. He'd worked with Fortune 500 companies, government agencies, and international corporations. Daniel Park, the bullied kid from Millbrook, had become one of the most successful cybersecurity experts in the country. He specialized in a very specific type of work: background investigations, digital forensics, and reputation management. In other words, Daniel had spent 10 years developing the exact skills needed to destroy someone's life completely and legally. When the reunion invitation arrived, Daniel's first instinct was to throw it away. Why would he want to see the people who had either tormented him or stood by watching? But then Daniel saw something interesting on the reunion Facebook page. Trevor Hutchinson had posted about how excited he was to attend. Trevor, it seemed, had taken over his father's real estate development company after graduating from a mediocre state school. Trevor was engaged to a former cheerleader. Trevor was running for city council. Trevor's life had continued on its perfect trajectory. Daniel felt something dark stir inside him. Not anger. Daniel had processed his anger years ago in therapy. This was something colder. Curiosity, mixed with an opportunity he couldn't ignore. Daniel decided to attend the reunion. Not for closure, not for nostalgia, but for reconnaissance. He wanted to see what Trevor had become. More importantly, he wanted to see if Trevor had changed, if he felt any remorse for the years of torture he'd inflicted. The reunion was held at the Millbrook Country Club, of course. Trevor's family owned it. Daniel arrived fashionably late, dressed in an expensive suit that cost more than Trevor's BMW had in high school. He looked good. Success had been kind to him. Daniel spent the first hour observing. Trevor was exactly as Daniel remembered, loud, confident, surrounded by admirers. He was telling stories about the good old days, laughing about pranks he'd pulled, completely unaware or uncaring about the damage he'd caused. Then Trevor saw Daniel. Holy shit, is that Daniel Park? Trevor's voice boomed across the room. Dude, I haven't seen you in forever. Come here, man. Daniel approached cautiously. This wasn't how bullies usually reacted to their victims. Trevor seemed genuinely happy to see him. Man, you look great. Trevor clapped Daniel on the shoulder like they were old friends. What have you been up to? Still into computers and stuff? Daniel kept his voice neutral. I run a cybersecurity firm. We do digital investigations and background checks for corporations. That's awesome, man. I'm running my dad's company now. Real estate development. We're expanding all over Connecticut. Trevor was practically glowing with pride. Hey, do you remember all that crazy stuff from high school? Man, we were wild back then. This was Daniel's test. This was the moment that would determine everything. You mean when you bullied me for 6 years? Daniel's voice was calm, almost clinical. Trevor's smile didn't waver. Oh, come on, man. That wasn't bullying. That was just kids being kids. We were all just messing around. You were just too sensitive about it. Too sensitive. Daniel repeated the word slowly. I developed clinical depression and anxiety. I had to switch to online classes. You spread rumors that I was planning a school shooting. Trevor shrugged, still smiling. Yeah, but look at you now. You turned out fine. If anything, I probably made you tougher. You should be thanking me for preparing you for the real world. There it was. The complete lack of remorse. The casual dismissal of years of trauma. The suggestion that Daniel should be grateful for his torture. Daniel smiled. It was not a friendly smile. You're right, Trevor. I did turn out fine. And you know what? I think we should catch up. I'd love to hear more about your business. Maybe we could even work together sometime. Trevor's eyes lit up. Absolutely. Here's my card. Let's do lunch next week. Daniel took the card and smiled again. I'll be in touch. That night, sitting in his hotel room, Daniel made a decision that would change Trevor Hutchinson's life forever. He was going to conduct the most thorough background investigation in the history of his firm, and whatever he found, he was going to use it. Daniel started with the basics: public records, social media, business filings, court documents. Within 48 hours, he had a comprehensive picture of Trevor's life, and what he found was fascinating. Trevor's real estate development company was built on a foundation of lies and corruption. Trevor had been using his father's political connections to secure zoning changes for his projects, often paying bribes to city officials. He had multiple ongoing lawsuits from contractors he'd refused to pay. He'd been cited for environmental violations on 3 different properties, but that was just the surface. Daniel went deeper. Using his cybersecurity expertise, Daniel discovered that Trevor had been running a sophisticated mortgage fraud scheme. He would inflate property appraisals, secure loans based on false valuations, then pocket the difference. Over 5 years, Trevor had defrauded banks of over $3 million. Daniel found evidence of tax evasion, insurance fraud, and violation of fair housing laws. Trevor had been systematically refusing to rent to minority applicants, while claiming the properties were unavailable. But Daniel's most devastating discovery came when he hacked into Trevor's personal email. Trevor had been having an affair with his business partner's wife. Even worse, Trevor had been embezzling money from his own company to support his gambling addiction. He owed over $800,000 to various casinos and loan sharks. Trevor Hutchinson, the golden boy of Millbrook, was a criminal who had spent 10 years building an empire on fraud, corruption, and betrayal. Most people would have gone to the authorities immediately, but Daniel wasn't most people. Daniel had spent 6 years being tortured by Trevor, while everyone looked the other way. Daniel wanted Trevor to suffer the way he had suffered, publicly, slowly, and with no escape. Daniel's revenge would unfold in 3 phases. Phase 1. Destroy Trevor's engagement and personal life. Phase 2. Destroy Trevor's business and professional reputation. Phase 3. Ensure Trevor faced criminal consequences for his crimes. Phase 1 began with an anonymous package delivered to Trevor's fiancée, Melissa. The package contained printed emails between Trevor and his affair partner, detailed records of Trevor's gambling debts, and photographic evidence of Trevor's frequent visits to casinos and the affair partner's apartment. Melissa called off the engagement within 24 hours, but Daniel had sent the same information to Melissa's father, who happened to be a prominent attorney in Connecticut. Melissa's father immediately hired a forensic accountant to investigate Trevor's business dealings. He'd been planning to invest significantly in Trevor's company after the wedding. Phase 2 launched simultaneously. Daniel sent comprehensive evidence of Trevor's mortgage fraud to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division, the Connecticut Banking Commissioner, and every bank that had issued loans to Trevor's company. He sent documentation of the bribery scheme to the State Attorney General's office and the Connecticut Commission on Ethics. But Daniel's masterstroke was what he sent to Trevor's business partner, evidence that Trevor had been embezzling from their company and having an affair with his wife. Trevor's partner immediately froze all company accounts, filed for dissolution of their partnership, and hired a team of lawyers to go after Trevor personally. Within 1 week of the reunion, Trevor Hutchinson's perfect life began collapsing. His fiancée left him. His business partner sued him. His company's assets were frozen pending multiple investigations. His father, horrified by the scandal, publicly disowned him and removed him from the family business. But Daniel wasn't finished. Phase 3 was about ensuring Trevor faced the full consequences of his criminal behavior. Daniel had compiled evidence of over 20 felonies spanning 5 years. Mortgage fraud, wire fraud, bribery of public officials, money laundering, tax evasion, and embezzlement. Each charge carried potential prison time. Daniel created a comprehensive case file that would make federal prosecutors weep with joy. Every transaction was documented. Every bribe was recorded. Every fraudulent loan application was preserved. Then Daniel sent this gift-wrapped case to the FBI, the IRS, the Connecticut State Police, and the U.S. Attorney's Office. But Daniel had one final move, one last piece of revenge that would ensure Trevor's destruction was permanent. Remember Trevor's social media post about being excited for the reunion? Daniel had saved it. He also had copies of every racist, hateful post Trevor had ever made. Posts Trevor thought he'd deleted years ago, but that Daniel had recovered using forensic data recovery techniques. Daniel created a comprehensive website documenting Trevor's bullying campaign from high school, complete with screenshots of the fake accounts Trevor had created, the photoshopped images he'd spread, and testimonials from other victims of Trevor's bullying. Then Daniel sent the link to every news outlet in Connecticut, every member of the city council Trevor had been running for, and every client his company had ever worked with. The story went viral within hours. Local real estate developer exposed as high school bully and fraudster became the top news story in Connecticut. Trevor's face was everywhere, alongside screenshots of his racist posts and evidence of his crimes. The fallout was spectacular. Trevor was arrested by federal agents 3 weeks after the reunion. Charges included 23 counts of wire fraud, 14 counts of money laundering, 8 counts of bribery, and numerous tax violations. The U.S. attorney held a press conference calling it one of the most comprehensive fraud schemes we've prosecuted in the state's history. Trevor's trial lasted 8 weeks. Daniel attended every single day, sitting in the back of the courtroom with a notebook, taking notes as witness after witness testified about Trevor's crimes. Trevor's lawyers tried everything, claiming prosecutorial overreach, arguing entrapment, suggesting Daniel had fabricated evidence. But Daniel's documentation was flawless. Every piece of evidence was authenticated, verified, and legally obtained. Trevor's lawyers couldn't fight the truth. Trevor Hutchinson was convicted on all counts. The judge, visibly disgusted by Trevor's complete lack of remorse, sentenced him to 25 years in federal prison. Additionally, Trevor was ordered to pay $4.2 million in restitution to his victims, though he had no assets left to pay with. But Daniel had ensured Trevor's punishment extended beyond prison. Trevor's professional licenses were permanently revoked. His name became synonymous with corruption in Connecticut. His father's real estate company changed its name to distance itself from the scandal. Trevor's mother moved to Florida to escape the shame. And Trevor's former fiancée? She married Trevor's business partner, the man whose wife Trevor had been sleeping with. Small world, Daniel. Daniel returned to his life, his successful company, and his peace of mind. But he did make one change. He started a nonprofit organization that helps bullying victims document and report their experiences. The organization is called the Reunion Project, because sometimes justice takes 10 years, but it's worth the wait. Every year, Daniel receives letters from people whose bullies have faced consequences thanks to his organization's methodology. Some are small victories: bullies losing jobs, getting expelled from college, facing social consequences. Some are bigger: criminal charges, prison time, complete life destruction. Daniel keeps these letters in a special file in his office, right next to his MIT diploma and the newspaper article about Trevor's conviction. He doesn't look at them often, but knowing they're there brings him peace. As for Trevor, he's currently serving year 5 of his 25-year sentence at a federal correctional institution in Pennsylvania. His earliest possible release date is in 20 years, when he'll be 52 years old with a felony record and no prospects. Trevor's cellmate is a former contractor who lost his business when Trevor refused to pay him for completed work. Trevor's job in prison is cleaning toilets for 12 cents an hour. His fellow inmates, many of whom come from the minority communities Trevor discriminated against, know exactly who he is and what he did. Trevor writes letters to Daniel occasionally. The prison's censors allow them through because they contain no threats, just pathetic pleas for forgiveness and mercy. Trevor claims he's sorry now, that he's learned his lesson, that he never meant for things to go so far. Daniel has never responded to a single letter, because Daniel learned something important during those 6 years of torture in high school and the 10 years of success that followed. Some people don't deserve forgiveness. Some people deserve exactly what they get. Trevor Hutchinson tormented a child for being different, for being vulnerable, for being an easy target. Then Trevor spent 10 years committing crimes and destroying lives while maintaining a facade of success. Then Trevor told his victim that he deserved the torture, that it made him stronger, that he should be grateful. Daniel Park proved that victims don't have to forgive their torturers. Sometimes victims can become powerful enough to ensure their torturers face every consequence they've earned. The 10-year reunion lasted 4 hours. Trevor's destruction took 3 weeks to complete. Trevor's prison sentence will last 25 years, and every day of those 25 years, Trevor will have time to think about the kid he tormented, the man who documented his crimes, and the conversation at a country club that destroyed his life. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but sometimes, revenge is a dish that takes 10 years to prepare, involves federal law enforcement agencies, and results in a 25-year prison sentence. Trevor Hutchinson thought Daniel Park was too sensitive, that he should be grateful for the torture that made him tougher. Instead, Daniel Park proved that the tortured kid who survived 6 years of hell could spend 10 years becoming powerful enough to ensure his tormentor spent the next 25 years learning exactly what consequences feel like. The reunion is over. The sentence has begun. And somewhere in a federal prison in Pennsylvania, Trevor Hutchinson has 20 more years to think about the moment he told his victim he should be grateful for his suffering. Justice delayed is not justice denied. Sometimes it's justice perfected.